It's a year in review. What happened in the Madison, Wisconsin real estate market in 2025? By Madison, what I mean is that we're looking at the areas that surround Madison as well. So we're looking at Fitchburg, Middleton, and Monona. If you know me, what I like to do is take a look at the numbers from a macro level so that you understand exactly what happened. That way, if you're thinking about doing something in 2026, you have all of the information. Let's get started, shall we? If we haven't met yet, or you haven't been to our YouTube channel, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Mark Gladue. I'm a real estate broker with Lauer Realty Group. My office is located on the near west side on Monroe Street. However, we also have an office located over in the Atwood neighborhood. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and one of the things that brings me pure joy is seeing when people find the exact right place that they want to call home. So what I'm doing here is breaking down numbers not only on a quarterly basis, but also on a yearly basis. So if you have more questions as we get into first, second, third, and fourth quarters, be sure to come back to this channel so you understand exactly what's going on by the numbers and what trends there are in the real estate market in Madison, Wisconsin. Listen, I know what you're thinking. 20 years experience in the real estate market in Madison, Wisconsin. Well, does it really matter to me? It should, and here's why. So 20 plus years means that I've been working in all of the different neighborhoods in the Madison area. Now, Madison, Wisconsin is a huge hodgepodge of all of these different neighborhoods, whether you're looking on the east side at Eakin Park, Maple Bluff, the Atwood neighborhood, or maybe you're over on the west side and you want to be in Midvale Heights or Shorewood Hills or Tacoma. All of these places are extremely different. And having worked in all of these areas for the last 20 years, I have a good idea of where market trends are, where prices are going, and what updates people are doing in these neighborhoods to get top dollar for their home. As a buyer, as someone who is relocating, it helps because I can offer you the vibe of a neighborhood. I can offer you where shopping is. I can offer you where schools are. Whatever it might be, 20 years of experience allows me the opportunity to help you in the best way possible. All right, let's get down to the nitty-gritty where the numbers are at. So the first thing we want to talk about is how many home sales were there in Madison, Wisconsin. And by Madison, again, I mean Madison and the immediate surrounding areas like Fitchburg, Monona, and Middleton. There were 2,426 home sales in 2025. The average price for a home in Madison was $550,000. The median price was $475,000. Now, if we take a look at days on market, we have the median being at 8 and the average being at 28. So what do all of these numbers mean? I like to go back 3 years to see if anything has changed drastically. And I'll tell you one thing, what I did note is that nothing changed drastically over the last 3 years other than the average price. From 2023 to 2024, we saw a 5% jump in the average price. From 2024 to 2025, we saw another 5% jump. Why is this? Well, the simple reason is we lack inventory. If I look at the market from a whole perspective over the year in 2025, and I like to take a look at the market almost every week, we start in the first quarter with having maybe 80 to 100 homes on the market. Now, this means you're taking out all of the new sales that are going on. So new homes that are being built, I'm taking those out. But if I'm looking at existing home sales, in that first quarter, we really do see inventory tighten up to maybe 80 to 100 homes on an average weekly basis. Now, when we get into the second, third, and fourth quarter, then we start to see that number tick up to about 200. But think about this. Madison has a lot more people than that. So if we look at Madison proper, I'm taking a look at census numbers, the data shows us that there are about 270,000 people in Madison and 57% of those are homeowners. So if you think about 200 homes on the market in the immediate surrounding and Madison area, it means that there's just not a lot available. So that's why we continue to see the average price and the median price tick up every single year by about 5%. Another interesting fact is if we go back to 2021, now 2021 was a very different year. People were scrambling to find homes because interest rates were very low. The price point back then, the average price was $420,000 in 2021. So think about, we're now at $550,000 for the average home price, and interest rates are hovering right around 6%. So 2023, 2024, interest rates hovering around 7%. Sales are low. But that average price keeps creeping up because Madison is a very popular place to live. And why is that? Well, because we're one of the top 6 schools for research. We also have a lot of tech companies coming into town, whether it be Epic, Exact Sciences. We also have American Family Insurance. And then you have state and local government. So there's a lot of people who want to migrate to Madison, Wisconsin, and that's why we continue to see this average price go up. Now, for those of you who might not know what the difference is between median and average, so the median is if we take all of the home sales in the Madison, Wisconsin area in 2025 and we strike right down the middle. That's that $475,000 price figure. If we take the average, then we're averaging all the home sales and saying, okay, that average is $550,000. However, the one caveat here is that, like I said before, there are a lot of different neighborhoods in the Madison, Wisconsin area. So if you're relocating, if you're a first-time home buyer, or it's been a while since you've been in the Madison, Wisconsin real estate market, then you need to know that these averages and medians can switch vastly if you go from something like Eakin Park or Eastmoreland over to Maple Bluff or Monona. Same thing, Midvale Heights. You could go into Shorewood Hills and Tacoma and find vastly different price points. It all depends on where it is you're looking to buy a home in Madison, Wisconsin. And on the seller side, it also helps if you have an agent who knows all of these neighborhoods like the back of their hand so that they can give you the right pricing when it comes time to sell. One of the other interesting numbers that I found is that I wanted to see the shift in pricing and what people are able to afford in the Madison, Wisconsin area. And one of the things that I did notice is that homes over $1 million have gone up by 50%. From 2023 to 2025, we used to see around 60 homes in the Madison, Wisconsin area that were being sold for over $1 million. And now we're seeing, on average, 120 homes that are being sold over that $1 million mark. And this is not just on the lake. I'm talking about different neighborhoods throughout Middleton, Madison, and Monona, where we're starting to see the interior homes that are probably completely remodeled, that are a little bit larger. These are those $1 million home sales that I'm talking about. So what's interesting to me is you're starting to see an influx of people coming in from out of state, and you're also seeing that average price point starting to rise. But also, when $1 million sales double in number, it means that we're still seeing growth in the Madison, Wisconsin area. All right, another important number to understand when we look at the 2025 market in Madison, Wisconsin is this: the list to sale price ratio. On average, homes in Madison, Wisconsin were selling for 101% of their list price. That means that on average, 1% above list price is where things were selling at. Now, that doesn't mean that there weren't homes that were selling for 15 to 20% above list price. And it doesn't mean that we didn't find homes that were selling for 9% below list price. It means on average, the Madison, Wisconsin market is still a seller's market because we see the average list to sale price being 101%. Now that's just slightly down from 2024 and 2023, where we saw it as 102%. But again, this means that if you're in, say, that early winter market or that spring market, early summer market, you're probably going to find more competition in the Madison area as opposed to if you're in the late summer, early fall, and then dead of winter markets. Okay, let's talk about new home sales because, as you know, Madison having 270,000 people, we start to see on the outskirts of town more and more homes being built, right? So how many new home sales were there in 2025 in the Madison area and those immediate surroundings like Fitchburg, Monona, and Middleton? 233 new home sales in Madison. Now, if you look at all of Dane County, there were 761 new home sales. Now, this is according to the MLS, so there might have been private sales, there might have been something different that we don't know about. But if you think about the population of Madison and how fast it's growing based on how popular Madison is, that's not a lot of new home sales and it's not a lot of new builds. So if you're thinking about buying a home and you're in, say, that 450 on up, then that's something you may want to consider in 2026 if you're not finding the perfect existing home in Madison, Wisconsin. Another point to make about new home sales is that if you have a ready to live home, and by that I mean a home that's been built by one of the builders here in Madison and hasn't sold yet, builders are now offering incentives for their existing inventory. So not something that people have lived in, but new inventory that's ready to live in. They're offering incentives so you can get appliances, you can get things like blinds or curtains, you can get utility sinks added, you can get a credit to close. All of these are an advantage. If you're looking to buy and you can't find exactly what you're looking for, but you're looking for something newer, now is a really good time to be looking at new construction because they're trying to offer incentives to then sell off their existing inventory so they can start building new inventory. Timing is a very important thing when it comes to real estate, and it can differ greatly whether you're a buyer or a seller. What I want to do now is break down by quarter how many home sales there were so you have a better understanding as a buyer and or a seller as to when you should be doing the right things to make the right moves. So the first quarter in Madison, we saw 421 sales. Second quarter, 762. So you can see an immediate jump. Third quarter, and this is what I find really interesting in 2025, is third quarter was fairly slow. We had a lot of people asking, hey, what's going on with the market? I'm seeing a lot of price changes. I'm seeing things sit on the market for longer. And that's simply because of uncertainty. People didn't know exactly what was going on, and so we saw fewer homes in 2025 sell in the third quarter, and that number was 674. Conversely, in the fourth quarter, we saw strong sales of 579 home sales happen in the Madison, Wisconsin area. What does this mean? Well, it means that once we ticked into the fourth quarter, I think people started to see that interest rates were ticking down just a little bit. We also saw prices coming down. And so that affordability, if you can call it that, and the interest rates brought people more into the market than they had ever been. And so that third quarter, we saw fewer home sales. Now, if you look at 2024, in the third quarter, there were 727 sales. That's pretty average. If you see over 700 sales in the last 3 years in the third quarter, that's because second and third quarter are generally the times when home sales are happening in the Madison, Wisconsin area. So think about it like this. If you're a buyer looking to buy and there's only 421 home sales in that first quarter, chances are inventory is really tight, but you're not going to be in as much competition in, say, January to early February. However, once we get to late February, early March, which is still in that first quarter, we start to see more competition, we start to see more homes hit the market, and then by the second quarter, obviously lots of things start to happen. This is also where we start to see what I call established pricing. Established pricing is this. It's basically if you have nothing on the market in your neighborhood and you go to list your home, and let's say there are 10 to 15 people out there who are looking to purchase in your neighborhood and your home fits the bill, those 10 to 15 buyers are establishing pricing. What they're telling you is, we feel like the house is worth this because we're willing to pay this. So again, think about it like this. As a buyer, that January to early February, great time to buy. As a seller, once you go into late February, all the way through probably mid-June, that's the best time to sell your home. And then once we get into July, family vacations, summer, all of those things, then people aren't really looking to sell as much and you have fewer buyers. On the flip side, in the fourth quarter, then in November, December, you have fewer people wanting to list their homes, but you have fewer buyers out there too, so less competition. All right, the final thing I want to talk about is return on investment for the top 3 remodeling projects that the National Association of Realtors has told us people really enjoy. And the first one is this: a primary bedroom suite addition. That means an entire addition where you're building out a primary suite, which includes bath, walk-in closet, and large bedroom. By large bedroom, I mean probably no less than 13 by 15, because as we see in new builds, these primary bedrooms are starting to get larger, and 13 by 15 is a minimum. Second is this: a kitchen remodel. Full kitchen remodel, and I'm not talking about IKEA cabinetry. I'm not talking about laminate countertops or mid-grade white appliances. I'm talking about beautiful designs. I'm talking about stainless steel appliances are still in. However, we're looking at a couple of different things when it comes to countertops. So you could do stone, you could do wood. Cabinetry colors are starting to trend more towards softer earth tones. Also with a walnut style, a maple style. So adding all of these elements into your kitchen and making it absolutely beautiful will bring a big return on your investment. The final project is your roof. Now, I would not have guessed this would be in the top 3 because when I think about having a new roof, I think of the security I have in knowing that my roof will be okay for 20 years. I do want to talk about a trend that happened in 2025 with insurance companies, however, and that is that we were finding roofs that were older than 9 years old. Insurance companies were saying that they weren't going to cover that roof based on the age of it being 9+ years. The only thing I don't like about any of this is that if you look at roofing companies and they come through and they tell you that the shingle is going to last for 20 years, which I completely agree with and understand, but insurance companies are telling you that they don't want to insure anything over 9 years old, well, there's a huge discrepancy there and we kind of have to try to figure that out this year. But for the roof to be in the top 3 remodeling projects that bring the best return on investment, I wouldn't have expected that. Close behind, runner-up, will be a full bath remodel. That makes a lot more sense. It used to be that when you looked at kitchens and baths and primary bedrooms, those were the biggest return on investment. So it's still there at number 4, but now your roof is number 3. Interesting. That's what's been happening in Madison, Wisconsin in 2025 as far as it goes with the real estate market. I hope that this hasn't felt like a fire hose of numbers, and if it has, I'm more than happy to connect with you and provide you with a market report via email so you can see that number breakdown and understand exactly what it means. I'll also be doing videos over the year that talk about the cost of living in Madison, talk about timing of the real estate market in Madison. I'll be bringing you quarterly reviews on what's been happening. And if you follow us on Facebook and Instagram, we also like to do neighborhood breakdowns. So whether you're looking on the Near East, Near West, suburbs, whatever it might be, we're going to be bringing you numbers so that you have a clear understanding of what's going on. Also, we want to make sure that you're in on the latest trends, whether it comes to writing contracts for offers or interior design. All of these things make a difference. We're an end-to-end company, and that means that we're going to be with you from the very beginning and offer services that not a lot of agents have access to, whether that's painting, cleaning, plumbing, electrical. All of these things matter, and so what we're trying to do is offer that end-to-end experience so that you understand that even after you buy or sell a home with us, we still have contractors. We still have people to help you out. I hope all of this information has been useful, and as always, we're glad you stopped by. One more thing I forgot to mention, and that is that this year we just changed websites. And now if you want, you can visit gladyoustoppedby.com, GLADUESTOPPEDBY.com. Glad you stopped by. And you can go onto the QR code and link up to our new app. This new app provides you with market trends. It also will show you new listings as they come on, as well as what's selling in your neighborhood and what's for sale in your neighborhood. I hope that you'll visit us on all of our social media pages, including YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. But also go ahead and visit our website at gladyoustoppedby.com just one more time and hit on that QR code so that you can link to our app. It's a really easy way to gain as much access as you need in Madison, Wisconsin.